good afternoon, and welcome to The Way Forward. I'm Eddie Francis. It is a pleasure to have you on this Saturday afternoon as we enjoy a little bit more warmth, before it gets really cold over the next few days, maybe even some snow. You know, I always make friends of mine from other parts of the country, especially if they're from places like New York or the upper Midwest. I always make them laugh when I say, in New Orleans, we get snow like once every 5 to 7 years. And it's a joyous time when we get snow in New Orleans because we get a chance to build our little 1 inch, 6 inch, maybe even a foot tall snowman. So who knows? We may have that opportunity, but I think we're only going to be able to get a snowman up to about 4 inches tall if we get snow this week. I think we're going to get the snow. My wife really wants to get the snow. She spent 10 years in New York and she really enjoyed her time with snow there. But I did warn her that if we get snow here in New Orleans, the snowman thing is not going to happen, at least not above a 4 inch tall snowman. But that's what we may get on this show, The Way Forward. There are two things that we are looking for you to do. As we tackle issues on this show, we want you to, one, understand, and two, act. And what that means is we want you to get an idea of the issue, get an understanding of the issue, and then we want you to figure out how to act on the issue. And what that looks like is you deciding for yourself what it is that you need to do in order to resolve that issue for yourself, or working with people in your community to figure out how all of you can get together to resolve an issue. It does look different for everybody, but at least if you have an understanding of it, at least if you have an understanding of the issue, then what you're able to do is you're able to figure out how to resolve it, how to make it better, how to advocate for yourself, how to advocate for others. But we really try to set up a situation on The Way Forward where you can reach one, teach one, each one, reach one, however that looks, or teach one to each one. However that looks for you, that's what we want to be able to do. And today, the issue that we're going to tackle on the show is social determinants of health. Our guest is Stephanie Marshall, Executive Director of DePaul Community Health Centers. And what Stephanie is going to do is she's going to come in and talk to us about what the social determinants of health are, what that definition looks like, how it plays a role in our everyday lives in ways we don't realize a lot of times. And I think that's what makes this an especially intriguing issue, and what we can do to manage our own situations. Now, if you missed last week's conversation with Dr. Kiki Baker Barnes about the art of thinking big, I heavily advise you to take a look at the video from that show. Kiki brought it. She just brought it. I mean, it was one of those shows where if you didn't have a dream before listening to this conversation, before listening to Kiki Baker Barnes, you most definitely are going to have one by the time you're done, because she kind of has a way of bringing dreams forth. And if you want to check out that show, you can go to Facebook or YouTube. Use the hashtag TheWayForwardWBOK. TheWayForwardWBOK. And the first episode of the show was on December 14th. Since we started the show, every week we have looked at the topics of politics, public policy, economics, and even charitable giving. So again, to take a look at those past episodes, you can go to Facebook, you can go to YouTube, use the hashtag TheWayForward, and you can take a look at all of those conversations, or you can listen to all of those conversations. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell another friend, and tell that friend to check out The Way Forward every Saturday, 2 p.m. here at WBOK. 12:30 a.m. if you're in the listening area, or if you want to listen online, we're streaming live, WBOK1230.com, the Play Old app, Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. And again, use the way forward, WBOK. Now, you can also hang out with me on social media. My name is Eddie Francis, in case you didn't get that. And you can hang out with me on Threads, Blue Sky, or YouTube, Eddie Francis 06. Or you can hang out with me on Facebook, and that's Eddie Francis. Look for the picture with the orange background, because there are other Eddie Francises out there, and they're not like me or us. So yes, Facebook, Threads, Blue Sky, YouTube. I'm also on LinkedIn, by the way. But on LinkedIn, a lot of the conversations I have on LinkedIn are related to work-related or career-related things. I don't necessarily promote what I do so much, but you can hang out with me on LinkedIn as well if you're one of those folks. But before we get into the interview, and again, today we're going to be talking social determinants of health. Before we can get into that interview, we are going to get everything kicked off with some good news. And so it is a segment. I thought long and hard about the name of this segment to talk about good news that's happening either locally, statewide, or nationally. I thought long and hard about the title of this segment, and it came to me in a dream. And the segment is called What's Good? I worked really hard for that. So story number one, the first thing is from clutchpoints.com. Baton Rouge has elected one of the youngest city council people in the country. Anthony Kenney, who is 27 years old, was elected to the District 2 seat in Baton Rouge on December 7th. He won by 255 votes. That is not a huge margin. So again, this is where we pause to say, if you think your vote doesn't count, here is proof that it does. This young man, again, won by 255 votes. Kenney, who graduated from Southern University, served as the Student Government Association president while he was at Southern. This is Kenney's first time running for public office. He credits his win with a strategy focused on, get this, citizens who vote regularly. He also credits Southern with giving him a foundation to be a voice for people who may not understand government or know how to engage with it. The funny thing about this story is that I have been following Kenney and communicating with Kenney on social media for like the past 3 years. I had no idea that he was going to be doing this. So this is really cool to see. Congratulations to Anthony Kenney in Baton Rouge, one of the youngest city council people in the U.S. at 27 years old. From the Southern University newsroom, the Southern University School of Nursing was recently voted best nursing school in the U.S. by nurse.org. The website's goal is to support and empower nursing professionals and students. Other nursing programs in the running were those at Emory University, Florida State University, the University of Michigan, and the University of Washington. This is the first time Southern's nursing program has earned the top honor from nurse.org. From Data News Weekly, a paper here in New Orleans, a local middle school student has been named a 2025 Student of the Year Regional Honoree by the Louisiana Department of Education. Janaya Amani Bell, and I hope I get her name pronounced correctly, Janaya Amani Bell is an 8th grade student at Berman Middle School, and she received this honor. The Students of the Year program identifies exceptional students from across Louisiana selected through a rigorous selection process. Students from public, charter, and non-public schools are eligible to receive the honor. Later in the year, the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education, also known as BESE, will announce regional finalists. So good luck to Ms. Bell. As we close in on the Super Bowl being held here in New Orleans on February 9th, New Orleanians are celebrating one of our own from Black PR Newswire. Queen Taj Williams is the first ever to handcraft both the Super Bowl logo and theme art for a Super Bowl. Queen Taj's inspiration came from her passion for preserving the Black masking tradition of New Orleans. Her designs feature bold pinks, deep reds, chartreuses, and lush greens, blending traditional elements with modern creativity in her intricate hand-sewn beadwork. A member of the Golden Eagles tribe, Queen Taj's Super Bowl theme art will be prominently featured on digital game tickets, the official game cover, and a grand display on the exterior of the Hyatt Regency New Orleans. Quick note, by the way, if you are going downtown for any reason here in New Orleans, make sure you plan ahead because they've been closing off streets to do some of the Super Bowl preparations. And so I have seen, I have seen what people are going through to try to get to places downtown, especially around the Superdome. From the River Parishes Community College Newsroom, the college is partnering with Southern University Law Center's Innovation and Strategic Partnerships and Initiatives program to host an expungement event for St. John Parish residents on Saturday, February 1st from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the River Parishes Community College Reserve campus. By the way, we reported on this last week, and I thought it would be great to shoot you a reminder that the expungement initiative is designed to address barriers to employment and create pathways for individuals seeking to rebuild their lives. At the event, residents will have the opportunity to have their criminal records reviewed to determine their eligibility for expungements. Representatives from RPCC's Adult Education and Workforce Training divisions will be on hand during the event, along business and industry partners who are going to be filling positions at their companies and organizations, I should say, along with these business and industry partners. Partners, or I should say participants, are required to bring their valid driver's license, a background check from Louisiana State Police, a certified copy of minutes, and a certified bill of information. For more information, there are a couple of phone numbers I'm going to give you. I'm going to put these numbers in the comments on Facebook and YouTube. But here are the numbers. You can call Southern University Law Center at 225-278-1332. That is 225-278-1332. Or you can call River Parishes Community College at 225-955-5525. That's 225-955-5525. If you call either of those institutions, Southern University Law Center or River Parishes Community College, my suggestion is that you just let them know that you are calling about the expungement program on February 1st. And again, I will put those numbers in the comments on Facebook and the chat on YouTube. A lot of good news from Southern, by the way. From the Xavier University Newsroom, the university's Center for Minority Health and Health Disparities Research and Education is holding their Women's Health and Wellness Week, January 20th through the 24th. The week includes a Women's Wellness Expo on Tuesday, the 21st, a conversation on cosmetics and women's health on Wednesday, the 22nd, and a community pop-up at Walmart on Jefferson Highway in Harahan on Friday, the 24th. The center also notes that January is Cervical Cancer Awareness Month. For dates, times, and locations of the week's events, go to xula.edu and click events, xula.edu, click events. The link will also be in the WBOK 1230 comments on Facebook and YouTube. And finally, we are going to stick with Gerttown, stick with Xavier. And as I told you last week, a really, really cool thing with Xavier women's basketball team, the Gold Nuggets. As of last week, they were undefeated, 15-0. First time in university history any of their programs have gone 15-0. And guess what? Here we are a week later, and they are still undefeated. The Gold Nuggets are 18-0 after defeating Our Lady of the Lake University on Saturday, North American University on Tuesday, and Houston-Tillotson University on Thursday. And their next opponent is going to be LSU Shreveport, which is a challenge because LSU Shreveport is 15-3, and they're going to be playing them at home in a convocation center in Gerttown on Tuesday the 21st at 5:30. The women's basketball team is ranked number 21 in the nation in the NAIA. So let me just say this, as somebody who used to work at small colleges. Again, I was the director of public relations at Southern University at New Orleans, at SUNO. I was a director of communications at Paul Quinn College in Dallas. And most recently, I was a director of communications and marketing at Dillard. And I have got to tell you, I know that we have the big time college basketball on TV, but the atmosphere for small colleges in basketball in the arenas, unmatched. Unmatched. Just unmatched. I have to say, now I'm not going to say that I have a favorite local basketball arena, but I will say that when the games are good, they are fantastic. And of course, you always want to look for the local matchups because the local matchups are really good. So the local matchups, obviously, Xavier Dillard, right? The Crosstown Classic is coming up. Suno Dillard, Suno Xavier, right? And Suno and Dillard. And so those three matchups in basketball, whether it's men or women, great games. I've gotten a chance to see all of those games, whether they were at Suno, at Dillard, at Xavier. So if you're here in New Orleans and you want to do something different and you want to catch a different atmosphere of college basketball, check out these small schools because again, the atmosphere is great. So let me tell you one of the funniest yet one of the best local basketball games I've been to. So as I've mentioned a few times on the show, I graduated from Loyola. One year, Loyola had just gotten we had just gotten our basketball program back. We had just gotten our athletics program back. A little history. Loyola shut down athletics in the early 70s, I want to say. I think, yeah, it was the early 70s, and went without athletics for more than 20 years, or about 20 years. So I went to Loyola late 80s, early 90s, and we got the announcement that we were getting athletics back. We were very excited. Well, okay, it was Loyola. A few of us were excited. So anyway, I was excited that we were getting athletics back. We get our basketball game back, and there was this great player at Loyola, Brian Lumar. So we had this game against Xavier, and it was Xavier's homecoming, and Loyola was struggling. Of course. I mean, we had just gotten basketball back. It was like the first 2 or 3 years. So we were struggling. We come to Xavier because WBOK is on Xavier's campus. We come to Xavier in the barn. Now, if you know anything about local college basketball, you know that one of the places to be for basketball was the barn. That was the place to be. Barn was always packed. I don't care who Xavier was playing. Loyola comes into Xavier, and our little crowd from Loyola, we show up at Xavier. The 20 black people from Loyola, we show up at Xavier. And we're sitting there going, I hope we can pull this game off. Brian Lumar, number 0, went off in that game. And we're all up there just acting a fool in the barn. And you know the Gold Rush family was not pleased at all. And we pulled it off. Beat Xavier on their home floor for homecoming. Little bitty Loyola with the struggling basketball program. Brian Lumar, Archbishop Shaw's finest, went in there and did damage. And then we left very quickly. So that's what's good. If you have any good news that you want to share, then you can email me, Eddie@EddieFrancis.com, Eddie@EddieFrancis.com, and I'll be happy to share the good news. I just have one rule. It has got to be something that really, really kind of gives some oomph to the community, okay? So next, we're going to bring in our guest, and we're going to learn about social determinants of health with Stephanie Marshall of DePaul Community Health Centers. If you want to jump in on the conversation, you can give us a call, 504-582-5422. Comment on Facebook or YouTube at WBOK 1230. This is the way forward on WBOK, what New Orleans is talking about. Good afternoon. Welcome back to The Way Forward. Listen to the Reality Check every Wednesday with Gerard Stevens, 1 to 4 p.m. Central Time. After that, check out the Sports Report, 4 to 7 here on WBOK, what New Orleans is talking about. For many of us, it can be a mystery about why our health is the way it is. We may not consider that our health can be heavily impacted by things we don't even realize will play a factor. These factors are called social determinants of health. Joining us to fill us in on social determinants of health, how it plays a role in our health, and what we can do about it is Stephanie Marshall. She's the executive director of DePaul Community Health Centers. She oversees operations of all the locations. The background is in community health and community nutrition, and past president of the Louisiana Dietetic Association. I don't even know if I pronounced that right. Did I pronounce that right?
You got it.
I did get it right. Okay, great. And in the interest of disclosure, I do have the privilege of doing work with DePaul Community Health Centers. And Stephanie, it is a pleasure to have you here. How are you?
I'm great. Glad to be here.
Good, good. So for people who may not understand, basic definition, what would be social determinants of health and what would be an example of it?
Okay, so social determinants of health are impacting of factors that prevent you from having great health.
Hmm.
It could be the living conditions, it could be working conditions, it could be the lack of housing, it could be lack of having utilities, no food, lack of transportation to get to a doctor's visit, not being able to pay for a copay for a doctor visit. It could be a plethora of things.
Yeah. And so when I was in Dallas, I worked in South Dallas at Paul Quinn College. And one of the issues that Paul Quinn talked about constantly was being in a food desert. And so that would be an example, right?
Correct. And we have many of those here.
Really?
Just a great example in the Central City area.
Mm-hmm.
They lost the Save-A-Lot store. There's no other nearby grocery store except for the mini Rouse's that's in one of the housing development for seniors in Gus High Rise.
Mm-hmm.
But then individuals who live in that area have to travel to Walmart on Chapatulas,
Mm-hmm.
or Rouse's, which is downtown, which prices seem to be a little bit different from others because
Mm-hmm.
of where they're located at. But and then the next nearest grocer is mm, Robert's
Yeah.
at Carrollton and Claiborne.
So now you're talking about two levels in this situation. One, not having the access to the food or fresh foods, healthy foods, but then needing transportation. They got to even
Absolutely.
get there.
Absolutely. Imagine the little old senior citizen traveling with their cart
Mm-hmm.
as they do when they go grocery shopping, having to catch a bus, loading that cart up on a bus, and then still pulling it along to get back home.
Mm-hmm. So I have a crazy question here because I think when we talk about social determinants of health, we normally think about under-resourced communities a lot of times, right?
Right?
But that may not necessarily
That's not
always be
always
the.
true, though.
So in my case, I live in a subdivision on the North Shore
Hmm.
and very happy with the house and all that stuff. But I told my wife one day, I said, if the cars break down, if both of our cars break down, this subdivision is so off the beaten path,
Then you have a SDOH, a
right?
social determinant of health.
And then the other thing I pointed out was, again, it's a great subdivision. I
Hmm.
love it. One day I was walking, as a matter of I want to go for a jog one day.
Hmm.
No sidewalks. So what's happening in this nice suburban neighborhood is that I'm having to dodge people going 40 miles an hour on a 20-mile-an-hour street. And I'm sitting there going, well, people think this is really nice living. But right now, I don't even want to jog because I don't want somebody to hit me. So it's
Hmm.
interesting how SDOH doesn't apply to just the community people may assume it does. It can apply just about anywhere almost.
Absolutely. Well, right now, right off the top of my head, I'm thinking of one social determinant of health. As we're driving down the streets of New Orleans, we have a beautifully lit Crescent City Connection Bridge now, but we don't have any street lights.
Right.
We have no street lights, and this is in multiple neighborhoods. So if I had to take bus transportation to and from, and I'm traveling at night, not only am I looking to make sure nobody's above me, I can't see where I'm going.
Yeah.
Other people can't see me walking,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so I become a target to get hit,
Right, right. And you can't
mugged.
tell somebody, oh well, you should wear light colors. Like, you really can't do that.
Exactly.
I mean, people
Every day, all
should.
day.
Yeah,
I mean, you
exactly.
should, but still, that's a social determinant of health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what would be a physiological effect of social determinants of health?
So we need to look at what can be changed, what resources are available,
Mhm.
and how we can connect the pieces to turn those factors around for individuals.
Mhm.
We at DePaul are looking at multiple issues that individuals are faced with. And those individuals who work in that capacity are called community health workers.
Mhm.
And so they are not only just servicing patients of DePaul, we do a lot of community outreach events where they are encountering individuals who need to have services of a community health worker.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's a twofold thing. We're able to help them, and then in the process of helping them, connecting them to DePaul Community Health Services for other
Mhm.
healthcare services that they may or may not be connected to.
Mm. Well, so there was something I was reading not too long ago that that talked about how stress can physically impact people.
We know that.
Yeah, but I mean, but I think, but for somebody like me, so I use myself as an
Hmm.
example. I was one of those people, 9 to 5. I'm just working, 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 working. Got to get it done. Got to get it done. Got to get it done. Not taking any breaks except to go to lunch and to use the restroom. And I'm not even realizing I'm putting stress on my body, and I'm not realizing what the stress is doing to my body the entire time. So, in your example of somebody who is trying to drive a car, whether the car works well or not, but there are no street lights,
Hmm.
and that's stressful. I mean, even
That is
even if
true.
you're trying to drive 3 blocks,
That is
that
true.
that seems like it's stressful.
So let me just give you another example. This coming week, we are recognizing Maternal Health Awareness Day, which is
Hmm.
on the 23rd. We day in and day out deal with women who are expecting, families who are expecting, who are dealing with SDOH issues the entire time of their pregnancy, which puts a strain on the pregnancy for that unborn baby as well as the woman who is expecting.
Hmm.
So what we do is that we do what is called an assessment,
Hmm.
a prepared assessment to see if they are actually prepared for when they get to the point of delivery.
Hmm.
And this assessments allow us to determine what SDOH issues are preventing them from having a healthier birth outcome. Whether it's transportation, who's going to take care of the other kids when she
Yeah.
delivers and goes in the house? How do they meet copays that may be required when they go into the house? If they're having special tests that need to be done, um, if it's going to cause them to have to go into the hospital for short term, if they have food issues, if there's a transportation issue, husband becomes unemployed, how are we going to function? Who's going to pay my light bill? Who's going to pay the rent? So it can go on and on and on throughout that period of pregnancy. And so the community health worker is working with these individuals to eliminate those social terms of health because the ultimate goal is that once that woman delivers, that we've removed those stresses to help her have a healthy delivery and a baby to have a healthy birth.
So we talked about stress. I mean, what about other areas of behavioral health that can be affected by
Such
SDOH?
as postpartum depression,
Yeah.
maternal depression is real.
And
And
then and
so
then.
many times people don't realize that they're in a point of depression,
Hmm.
that they need to get help
Hmm.
because they're so accustomed to dealing with these life situations and not realizing that I'm actually going through something
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
there's help available. And one of the things that we promote is that we have a behavior health department.
Hmm.
And so when we do this prepared assessment on the patients, we do an evaluation, also a PHQ-9 or PHQ-2. And if that patient scores a certain score, we do an immediate referral over to that behavior health provider.
Hmm.
That means
Hmm.
that they have some behavior health issues that are going on that needs to be addressed. And so a lot of times people don't realize that they're actually going through because
Hmm.
they're so accustomed to going through.
Yeah. Yeah. And to your point, the example you brought up earlier, if you have the mother who is expecting and then the husband loses a job for
Hmm.
whatever reason. Now you're talking about two stressed out people,
Absolutely.
in a situation. Because I mean, and I've been in this position before where it's just like, I got to get a job. I got to get a job. I get a job. And as they always say, it's a full time job to find a job.
Hmm.
So now you're talking about these multiple layers of stress. So do so, which brings me to another question, and I'm just curious about this. I am one of those people. I have been in extraordinarily stressful job situations many, many times. Marketing and communications, as one of my good colleagues is in the studio with us, marketing and communications is extremely stressful. Is social determinants of health, is that ever addressed in the workplace?
Many times jobs offer what is called employee assistance program,
Yeah.
and employees don't take advantage of it.
Right. Okay. Okay.
They don't want to be labeled. They think that it may interfere with them being able to work. They don't want other people in their business.
Yeah.
But there are services that are actually provided by many employers that employees simply do not take advantage of participating in. And they can actually receive the necessary counseling
Hmm.
that's needed to get through these life situations.
Mm. So would that be one of the byproducts where you see in a behavioral health situation, that sense of embarrassment, that sense of shame or guilt about not getting help, even if there's an employee assistance program, just not getting help because you don't want your boss to know that quote unquote something is wrong with you, air quotes, right?
You don't want your boss to know. You don't want significant others to know
Right.
because a lot of men go through stressful things in life and dealing with being the man of the house.
Yeah.
But, have to man up.
Hmm.
Well, sometimes it's okay to say you need help,
Hmm.
even if you are the man of the house. It's okay to say, I need to talk to somebody.
Hmm.
I need to just have somebody to talk these things through.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that is a prime example of a stressful situation that could lead to a further mental health issue
Hmm.
if you don't seek the necessary help that's needed.
Hmm.
Because it's just like a snowball effect. It just keep piling on and piling on. And
Hmm.
then at some point, people tend to break.
Hmm. I'm actually going to get to in a little bit. I'm going to get to what folks can do as kind of a buddy system to help one another. In the meantime, you're listening to The Way Forward. I'm Eddie Francis, and we are talking about social determinants of health. Joining me in the studio is Stephanie Marshall, Executive Director of DePaul Community Health Centers. So let's talk locally. So for folks who are deciding, okay, I'm going to do something, what kinds of resources do you have with DePaul? How can DePaul help?
Well, we have a number of things that are in place. We actually have behavior health program. And believe it or not, we are actually in schools as well.
Okay.
Because there are many students who are going through issues that are related to mental health,
Mm-hmm.
um, that experiencing bullying, um, latchkey kids. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of kids you could not believe that are actually living on it, taking care of themselves, don't have someone to talk to, feel as though they can't talk to their parents about certain issues. So we're in schools. We're in about 22, 24 schools. We have behavior health services that are available in our clinics.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we have a substance abuse program as well. So someone may actually have a family member that have a substance abuse problem and not know where to turn to. And so we have several divisions of those services that are available through DePaul Community Health Services.
So, so when it comes down to it, so first of all, let's talk about a couple of things. So for that person who may be in an under-resourced community, they may they may feel stressed out about finding a DePaul location or something like that. What do you suggest? Like when the folks at DePaul are working with folks,
Mhm.
especially in behavioral health, what is a first step that you might go over with someone in the community who says, "I don't even know where to start. I don't even know how to get to one of your health centers." I mean, how do you start with them? How do you get them to start taking care of themselves?
They could actually call our clinic,
Hmm.
504-207-3060, and say, I need to talk to someone. They can just start with that. Just say, I need to
Hmm.
talk to someone. There'll be an immediate connection to connect them to a community health worker once we analyze what it is that they actually need. And that community health worker serves as a driver for their services.
Mm-hmm.
whether it's behavior health services, whether it's healthcare services, whether it's food insecurity, housing. They will actually take on their issue as a case manager to help them navigate to get through those SEO issues.
Is there a common issue that you hear about at DePaul?
Housing, food, care, transportation among the top.
Mm-hmm. And with housing, is it affordability or is it availability?
Okay, so we all live in Louisiana in the world of growing insurance.
Yeah.
And with that, those individuals who rent, those costs are passed on to the tenants.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a huge influx of people um, looking for assistance for rent because rent costs have just escalated.
Mm-hmm.
Just like our house notes have escalated, our insurance payments have escalated.
Mm-hmm.
The property owners are passing those on to the tenants,
Yeah.
justifiably so. So a lot of people are looking for housing. A lot of people waiting to have their number come off of Section 8 so they can get Section 8 housing. Um, food insecurity is
Mm-hmm.
huge.
Mm.
It is huge. The food cost of food has escalated tremendously.
Yeah.
It used to be a day and time when you go grocery shopping, people would have a grocery cart full of food,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and people would come out with a cart full of groceries. I was sitting in the parking lot at a local grocery store, and I was just watching the door as people were coming out, and people were coming out with bags of groceries.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even need a cart.
Yeah.
And then when you're getting your cost of your food rung up, you're like, I don't have anything.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one or two packages of meat, but I have nothing. I've spent nearly $100. And so long ago, the days of when people are rolling out the store with a grocery cart full of groceries,
Mm-hmm.
and it's real.
And as a dietitian, I'm sure your observation is, well, they can only afford a certain type of food, which may not be the healthiest option.
Absolutely.
A
So
lot of
we
times.
take that opportunity to teach them how to make things a healthier choice,
Mm-hmm.
to stretch the dollars, clip coupons, shop a sale, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
I myself do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Look, so from coupon apps are my friend.
Yep.
They are my biggest friend. Um, there was this. This reminds me of a situation. I was hanging out with a group of friends once, and we were all just hanging. We had all gone out. We were all sitting in the car, and we decided to buy a box of chicken.
Hmm.
And I'm sitting there going, well, I'm trying to really get away from this. And another friend of mine, because I think it was like maybe five of us hanging out, and another friend says, yeah, man, why are we buying this? And there was a friend who said, you have no idea how many black people this box of chicken will feed. And we just sat there like, come on, man, seriously? And he goes, no, this is what people look forward to. Like they're like, okay, I've counted the dollars. This is what I got. This chicken place is right down the street. It's in walking distance.
Hmm.
This is what's gonna feed me and my family. I have three kids, and this is what's gonna help us. And at that moment, I realized, man, this is a really lopsided situation. It is a very lopsided situation.
Well, we live in a society today where everybody wants to eat out,
Yeah,
and there's little cooking at the house.
yeah,
Um, when I was a kid, and I was sharing this story with some coworkers, um, to go to a fast food restaurant was only when we received a report card.
yeah,
The
yes,
day you got your report card is the day that you went to um and got your burger. But we
yeah,
didn't even get the fries.
yeah,
And
yeah,
mama had the potatoes cut up at home and was cooking the potatoes at home. I never got a French fry from a fast food restaurant until I was like 15 years old.
yeah,
And so, but we stretched the dollars. It was an occasion when you ate out.
yeah.
Nowadays, the occasion is every day or every other day.
It
And
is.
so we have developed unhealthy food choices for our kids. And it's in it when you say, what do you want to eat? They're not saying red beans and rice, greens,
Yeah,
cabbage. I want Popeyes. I want McDonald's. I want Burger King or Taco Bell. Those,
yeah.
that's an everyday occurrence.
Stephanie, I join you on that salad bar resentment because I asked my mama I don't know how many times for the burger that I wanted, and she was like, "No, boy, we make good burgers here at the house." And I'm going,
You got that Murphy burger, huh?
I don't. Yes, I was like, I don't want the 1 inch or 2 inch thick burger. I want the little patty that I get at the
No.
spot with the special sauce.
Mm-mm. Mama cut those potatoes up, and you knew it was gonna have them homemade French
Yes,
fries
it was the
when
big
you
thick
got.
ones.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Oh
But guess what?
man.
They were healthier. They had no additives or preservatives.
So that is the irony, isn't it? So
Absolutely.
that is the one day I was actually kind of beating myself up because I cook all the time. And I'm going, well, I'm eating these red beans and I'm eating this and I'm eating it occurred to me that my cooking habits aren't bad at all because I mean they are beans
Mhm.
and beans are healthy after
Mhm.
all. I didn't put any kind of preservatives or anything in it. Everything is just fresh.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the gumbo I was doing. I mean, it was a really fresh gumbo and all that kind of stuff. And it occurred to me that a lot of our at-home cooking habits, if we do get our hands on the right ingredients, is not really bad at
It
all.
isn't, and it's more than just a meal.
Yeah, yeah.
You're not just eating for that particular meal. You have food to stretch for.
Hmm.
I a lot of people are not fan of leftovers. I'm a
Oh,
fan of putting something in the container, put in the freezer,
I am the stretch
labeled,
king.
dated, because we are going to see this meal again.
Yes.
But a lot of people don't have that option. But one of the things we do offer at DePaul in regards to addressing food insecurity is we do have a food pantry.
Oh wow. Okay.
We do, and we service the community on the second Friday of every month
Hmm.
from 9 to 11 until the food runs out. We have a collaboration with Second Harvest Food Bank.
Hmm.
And so it's not income based or anything of that nature. It's just that you need to get in line to get your food.
Okay.
And the most heartbreaking thing,
Yeah.
though,
Hmm.
Eddie, is to see the number of senior citizens
Yeah.
in line because that tells a story that they have a social
Yes.
determinant health issue that they're dealing with, and their pride won't allow them to say, I need the food. But just the simple conversations of when we pull up, they say, is there any meat on the truck today?
Yeah.
Can you tell me what we're getting?
Hmm.
And so they're excited, super excited when there's some sort of meat that's being given away with that distribution.
Yeah.
But, my heart just goes out to these individuals because they're the people who have worked all their life. And when it's time for them to get, there's nothing for them to get.
And it's interesting because our seniors, that is such a forgotten population.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm gonna get back to asking about supporting folks. But I'm gonna actually make your communications person Chelsea very happy right now because I did have the pleasure, and like I said, in the interest of disclosure, I do work with DePaul, and I had the pleasure of writing a story about a patient who talked about. He just went on and on about going to classes to really manage his diabetes. And
Absolutely.
so we're talking about social determinants of health in the Black community. We know diabetes is a big problem. So
In the community, period.
yeah, in the community, well, yeah, because I actually spoke to someone who actually deals a lot with public health, and he talked about the number of white people with diabetes in Jefferson
Yeah.
Parish, and he said that's actually the highest population. But talk about that. Talk about the kinds of services that people may not expect to see locally when they're able to go ahead and manage their health.
Certainly. So we have a growing number of individuals who are pre-diabetic or diabetic.
Hmm.
A lot of them are the patients of DePaul, and we offer a diabetes class, a diabetes prevention class, in which individuals could actually come and learn how to manage their diabetes, or if they're pre-diabetic, not flip over to the side of being a diabetic.
Hmm.
Extensive classes are allowed for them to participate in. These classes are free. And so they are benefiting from um, the nurse, Sylvia Denson, who teaches them how to live with diabetes,
Hmm.
manage their diabetes. Because the ultimate thing that we don't want to see is people who didn't manage their diabetes knocked out a kidney and end up on dialysis.
Yeah. Yeah.
I cringe every time I see a new dialysis unit come up in the neighborhood. And more than
Mm,
often, sadly enough, they're in African American
yeah.
communities.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about helping folks. For those who do have access, for those who do have access to food, or they have access to transportation, what's the way forward for people who do enjoy some privilege to work with people and to help people from under-resourced communities who might get hit harder by social determinants of health? How can we help?
We're looking for volunteers.
Hmm.
We actually are developing a food pantry. So a built-out food pantry, and it's going to operate more than once a month.
Hmm.
We so that'll give us a greater chance to address food insecurity in the community. But it's going to be needing some help of volunteers. So some individuals to come and meet, greet, help senior citizens get their little packages to or their box of food to their cars and so forth and so on. But looking for volunteers when we have different community outreach events to support it and share the word about those events with
Hmm.
others. For instance, in March we have an event entitled "Give a Kid a Smile,"
Hmm.
in which children could come and get free dental examinations. It's going to be a fun-filled activity day for the kids. But we put a lot of efforts into this, and we don't always get a lot of people to come out to participate in these events. And so, if you know a kid who needs to have a dental home,
Hmm.
do that. Invite them to that. If you know a child who's, if you're a teacher and you notice this child is constantly squinting their eyes in the classroom, that's a
Yeah.
prime indicator that they
Yeah.
may need to have an optometry visit. We have an optometry department where they can come in and get their eyes examined, get glasses at a nominal cost.
Hmm.
And then just to take advantage of the diabetes class, do a wellness visit.
Hmm.
If you are looking to save money on the cost of your medication, we have pharmacy services at DePaul. And I am willing to stand toe to toe with any other pharmacy provider and say that we can meet or beat their costs. And so, because we participate in a program called 340B, we're able to offer medication for pennies on a dollar,
Hmm.
and that makes the difference of someone being able to adhere to their medication therapy as they're supposed to.
Yeah, and it just occurred to me, especially for folks outside of the listening area, who may not have access to a DePaul, but it occurred to me that if someone who has access to resources, then sometimes, and I've seen this before, it's just as simple as somebody being able to get on their smartphone, look something up, and just give somebody the information and say, hey, here's how you can do it. Here's how you can get transportation, or I'm happy to drive you, or that sort of thing.
Yes.
So, that buddy system seems to be able to work. So again, and it is worth noting that DePaul does support WBOK. So it is worth noting that the phone number again 504-207-3060. 504-207-3060 is a number where you can call DePaul if you're in New Orleans and you do want to take advantage of their services. And then outside of the area, I would say look for a local community health center if you can get to one.
11 different locations throughout the
Mhm.
greater New Orleans area on the East Bank, West Bank, Kenner, to the New Orleans East. We're all over everywhere waiting to serve you.
You got it. Well, Stephanie Marshall, Executive Director of DePaul Community Health Centers, thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
You got it. You got it. And we're going to be back after the break on WBOK. What New Orleans is talking about. It's the way forward. And welcome back to the Way Forward. Join the Good Morning Show every morning, every weekday morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and the front porch right afterward, 9 to noon on WBOK, what New Orleans is talking about. Many thanks to Stephanie Marshall for joining me on the Way Forward and from the DePaul Community Health Centers. And again, information about DePaul Community Health Centers and their services available in the Facebooks, in the comments on Facebook, and then also the chat on YouTube. So let's go forward. They say that if you have your health, you have everything. I agree with that. I would also say that you should establish a goal to be in the best health possible so that you can have as much as you want out of life. In June, I'm going to be 55 years old, and I'm very blessed to have access to great health care. I'm also, by extension, blessed to have great health. I can touch my toes. I can walk and jog. My eyeglass prescription is the same as it was more than 365 days ago. That's a first in my life. My blood pressure is great, and I'm not on any medications. My choppers are in good shape. Most importantly, I'm obsessed with taking care of my mental health. Now, there are a few things that I have to take care of. I mean, my blood sugar is a little higher than it should be, but it is manageable. My weight is not quite where I want it to be. The gut has to go. But again, it is manageable. And the good news here is that these are things that I can control. When I started my mental health sessions with my therapist, she asked me a very important question. What are your goals for these sessions? And I couldn't tell her exactly what they were at the time. I kind of threw a couple of things out. I kind of spitballed it, honestly. And then I had to go sleep on it. And when I slept on it, I went back to my next session and I was able to refine my goals. I was able to get more specific and I knew exactly what I wanted. But here's the thing, that was such an important question that I had not even thought about. That question put me on a path to becoming what my wife jokingly calls Evolved Eddie. And that question also helped me figure out that I should know what I want for myself when it comes to my health. The question, what are the goals? That also helped me do something else. It helped me scrutinize the kind of care that I get. I went to a doctor for a checkup. It was a routine checkup. And I just wanted to get an idea of where I was with everything. My blood work came back, and as it turns out, my cholesterol was borderline high. I've actually been here before with the cholesterol thing, and so I knew what I had to do. So I'm talking to the doctor. He's going over my blood work with me, and glibly, he said, "You should slow down on the bacon." Word? He didn't even ask me about my lifestyle. He didn't ask me anything about my diet. How did he know bacon was a problem? So I called BS on it. And I decided to seek out a doctor who I felt would at least ask me questions instead of making assumptions about my lifestyle choices. So luckily, I found a doctor that I like. Luckily, and I appreciate the fact that I was able to find a black male doctor who I liked. And he started asking me questions about my lifestyle. As a matter of fact, it was a myriad of questions about things that could impact my life. And then something beautiful happened during his doctor visit. We had an actual conversation about my health. When he did see an issue, he gave me a plan for preventative care and maintaining my health instead of assuming that medication was the only way to get me to, shall we say, act right. You see, I had a goal, and my goal was to find a healthcare provider who actually provided thoughtful care for my health by taking the time to understand me and my situation as an individual and giving me guidance on what I can do to live my best life. Now, this I know. Now that I've gotten the guidance, the rest is definitely up to me. So here's to your health, your physical health, your behavioral health. And here's to controlling what you can control so that you can have everything that you deserve out of life. My only question is this: what's your goal going to be? And that's the way forward. Thank you so much for joining us on the way forward today. You can check out the episode again on WBOK's Facebook and YouTube accounts. Also follow WBOK on Instagram, TikTok, while it lasts, and Twitch. And tell a friend to check us out on 1230 AM, 1230.com, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and the Play Old app. The Way Forward is produced by Jared Bro. And until next week, keep moving forward.